morning from our first Caribbean port of call on Marella Voyager, and we're at the port of Scarborough. So this is at Scarborough Tobago. So Tobago, the second island of the country of Trinidad and Tobago. So Trinidad's a bit further down. This is a slightly smaller island, but Scarborough is the largest town on Tobago apparently. And I'm going on tour today, so I've got to get myself ready. So we'll see what I get up to. Lying in bed this morning with the bridge cam on. Just had my alarm go off so I can start getting ready and have breakfast. I'm on tour this morning. We're heading towards Tobago. It's a bit cloudy today. What you do if you haven't got a window. Getting a bit closer. It's not looking quite as cloudy as it did out at sea. I put it on mute, but there's a little bit of background jazz going on, keeping me going. So I'm going to turn that off now and get on with getting ready.
On Marella Voyager, the buffet is called the kitchens, and that concept comes into its own later in the day. But for breakfast, there's lots of choice, including cereal, fruit, a full English, or even pre-made bacon and sausage butties. Then there's a drink station for tea, coffee, water or fruit juice.
Still full from last night, so I'm going for a bit of fruit, sausage butty pre-made, and a brew. And a view of Scarborough Tobago. So this morning we're arriving in Scarborough Tobago, which you are not going to mix up with Scarborough North Yorkshire, that's for sure, mainly because in January, blue sky, look at that. So what can I say? Scarborough is the largest town on Tobago, and Tobago is the smaller of the two islands of the country that makes up Trinidad and Tobago. So Trinidad's just further south apparently. So we're not going to Trinidad, but we will be exploring Tobago. In fact, I'm off on tour this morning to go and find out a bit more about this place. For a lot of us, it's our first day aboard Marella Voyager. Everyone arrived yesterday. Pools are empty at the moment. The Caribbean sunshine is really warm. I'm guessing that's the flag of Trinidad and Tobago up on the top of the ship there. Didn't really see much of the ship last night because, like everyone else, I'd had enough a long travel day. But I've got some exploring to do, and I've got plenty of time to explore it as well, so that's good. You're keen in the morning, get on the jogging track, 12 laps to do a C mile or 1.15 miles, so that's the track. Runs around the deck. Plenty of sunbeds this morning. Actually nice to see that they're not all reserved at this time, which is a good thing. Keep it up. Get yourself down by the pool at some point as well. I have to say, considering it's 9 o'clock in the morning here, that sun is really hot. I'll be getting my sun cream on after. It's just about 9 o'clock. My tour is at 10 o'clock and the ticket says you have to meet 10 minutes before at the end of the pier. I gave myself plenty of time to get ready because I didn't know how far that would be, but the end of the pier is literally just there, not too far at all, so I have plenty of time to go and get myself just settled and ready. Actually, we're in Scarborough there. You can see the Port Mall there. There's a KFC, a few little shacks, I'm not sure what they are. There's not actually much here. The recommended tours, I'm going to the south of Tobago on an island tour, or they recommend going to Pigeon Point Beach, which is apparently a nice view, and they run organised tours there, or you can get a taxi and go yourself. There are little maps everywhere to tell you where you are. I'm just underneath the kitchens. So kitchens are on deck 11, I'm on deck 10, but I'm at this far end near the green staircase. I keep coming off at red staircase where I am now. If you don't know where you are, the screen's next to the lift. So you're in Scarborough, all aboard 6:30, and more importantly now, the gangway is deck 3 forward, blue staircase. And down on deck 3 you walk out to get off the ship. All the badges where the ship's been to. Now here's a fun thing, it's my first time in Tobago. Steel band's playing, lovely Marella Voyager, a bit too close to get a good pitch. We'll try and get one of those at some point, sure will. Walk down to the end of the pier, meet my tour. Tobago South. A little minibus. Apparently these are common in the Caribbean. We're on Tobago South tour.
They're not the fanciest of minibuses. They've 2 seats on one side, one on the other, but they did have air conditioning and they were comfy enough, and actually it was perfectly good for our little trip. For day one, I didn't want anything too strenuous, and the Tobago South Shore excursion was advertised as a scenic drive. We started off leaving the port of Scarborough and driving along the Esplanade. This is apparently the place to come for free Wi-Fi.
This is the Atlantic Ocean on this side. Apparently we're going round to the Caribbean on the other side. I take it back. This is going to be a lovely walk to come back and do later on.
If you fancy a trip to Tobago, they're building a brand new international airport. The current airport is quite an outdoorsy thing. You can drive through it and you do all your checking outside as well. We had a first stop and a chance to stretch your legs at Story Bay Beach.
Did I mention we're in the Caribbean? In Tobago. Why did the chicken cross the road? To get to the beach. How beautiful is this? Look at the colour of that sea there. We can actually go for a walk on the sand, but I don't really want to get covered. But I'm hoping that I'm going to be visiting quite a few beaches in the Caribbean. Look at how absolutely wonderful this is. What a perfect start.
There was a little tourist market as well, so I managed to get a souvenir fridge magnet.
So I think this is just a little short beach. Stretch your legs, see a bit of the place. And you can also see that beautiful sea. Listen to the birds in the trees.
Some of the other tours you can do in Tobago are the Bucko Reef and the Nylon Pool, both of which you could do with the ship or you could book them independently. After a 20-minute stop, it was back on the bus. Next stop was a scenic lookout in what's now an abandoned golf resort. Apparently it closed down when tourism was stopped during COVID and the resort never recovered, which is a shame because it's such a beautiful area. This is the Black Rock Moravian Church, built in 1858.
And resorts here as well. You can definitely come and stay here. Heading to the mystery tombstone. So this is the mysterious tombstone of Betty Stiven, wife of Alex Stiven. Apparently she was pregnant, she didn't know it, and she died in childbirth. And then there's a question as to what it means, and her husband only got indulged by it.
In the background we have a breadfruit tree. Apparently breadfruit was brought over to Tobago to feed slaves when they had slavery here.
And this is frangipane, and it's covered in caterpillars that are eating it apparently. They're quite greedy caterpillars, they eat everything. So now we're visiting Fort James, which held British forces from 1762 to 1770. Fort James was built as a gun emplacement. They'll have some cannons here. Look like, oh yeah, they've got a GR on them for King George. So this is the remains of Fort James, which from 1762 to 1770 had 2 British regiments here. It saw action against the French in the 1780s, and I think it said on the original sign that it was around till 1811. So it's overlooking the Caribbean Sea and was used to defend shipping in the area. So very interesting little bit of history here on the island. The original cannons in the 1700s were here to guard the bay and shipping. And what is the Caribbean Sea on this side? So we've moved around the island now on our little tour, and this is the Caribbean Sea. So we started off on the Atlantic Ocean side, now we're on the Caribbean side.
A nice little viewpoint there, overlooking the sea, and you can get a selfie taken at one of these Tobago landmark selfie spots. For a final stop on the tour, we returned back to Scarborough and went up the hill to Fort King George. There's a couple of little museums here, but we only had 15 minutes for this stop, so I went to explore the scenery instead. Actually, one of my new solo friends walked it up to the top of here from the ship as a DIY tour. He did say that the hill was very steep and he'd probably do a taxi next time. Again, another fort, some more cannons. One for the lighthouse spotters there. I was quite interested to see that although the lighthouse was originally commissioned in 1958, it had only just been recommissioned on the 13th of January 2025, and we were there on the 31st of January 2025, just a couple of weeks later. Fort King George, of course, has been here a lot longer than the lighthouse, and its cannons overlook the strategic positions of the Atlantic Ocean. So whereas Fort James was looking over the Caribbean Sea, this is the Atlantic Ocean in front of us.
So this is quite interesting. So Tobago's been taken over by the British and the French at different points in its life. It's been taken over several times, and in the 1780s and 90s it was occupied and called Fort Castries, which is the name of the capital of St Lucia, where I'm going in a couple of days.
Both were actually named after the French Marquis of Castries.
Ultimately ended up owned by the British and became Fort King George.
Now, of course, Tobago is part of the independent country of Trinidad and Tobago, and now the fort is looked after by their National Trust, looking after it as part of their heritage.
So this is the Tobago South tour, and to be honest, it's been very much a minibus ride. Very scenic, not very strenuous. There's a little bits of walking, but not too much. But it's been a great way to see both sides of the island. We've seen the Atlantic and the Caribbean side. So yeah, we've spotted some of the historical sites, forts and things like that. And our guide has been excellent. She's been really enthusiastic. These little minibuses make it quite personal and stuff like that. So yeah, very much enjoyed this. Just come down the hill from the fort, and there's the ship.
While we're here, we get our first proper view of Marella Voyager.
That was a nice little tour. Left at 10, got back at the ship at exactly 1 o'clock, so 3 hours, just like it said. Very much drive around the island, so if you want something with a bit of activity, that's probably not the most active. It was much more sitting on the minibus. We got out obviously at Fort James and Fort King George and places like that, so we got to see some sights, and that was very enjoyable as well. So personally, I've enjoyed that. We've seen the island from the Atlantic side and the Caribbean side, so at least now I can say I've seen a bit of Tobago. What I'm going to do now is head up to the buffet, get some lunch, and then I'm going to head out and just go and have a look at that place we saw right at the very start along the Esplanade and the walk along the front, and just see what there is there. Might as well have a walk. All the boys not till 6:30 PM tonight, so plenty of time to go and do a bit of exploring. There's more than a buffet, it's like little kitchens as they call them. So you've got a choice of pies today, and chips, salad bar, sandwich bar.
You can go Greek style if you like a bit of souvla.
Banyan leaf if you want your curry and rice. It's all inclusive, so you've got your drinks, beers, wines, and your tea and coffee. It's all included. Peach crumble today. That must have been good. It's all gone. The gravy boat for, looks like more sandwiches. Yorkshire pudding wrap, that sounds good, doesn't it? I think I know what I'm having for my lunch. And your bamboo, oriental style. So, sweet and sour. I might change my mind on the wrap. A bit greedy at lunchtime, but this looks so good. Sweet and sour pork with egg fried rice. And I've got a Coke because I thought that'd be good. I said the beer's for later. The sweet and sour was delicious for lunch. Unfortunately, you can't take me anywhere, and I slopped it down the front of my t-shirt. So just in case you're wondering why I'm in a different outfit this afternoon, that's why. And if you like your lunch in a restaurant, you probably don't spill it on your shirt. That's probably not the done thing. You've got latitudes. There's a lunch and a dinner menu. And actually, I'll have a quick look at dinner as well. Yep, there's things on there I could eat. Not sure where I'm going for dinner tonight. Once again, they have the rules on the dress code, but obviously during the day it's much more relaxed. So much later now, everyone's done their morning to shore. Lots of the tours coming back. That looks like the cycle tour coming back. I'm going to go and just have a wander. Still beautiful, a bit cloudy, but actually that's keeping the sun off although I don't get caught out. I think it's meant to be 28 degrees. Definitely lovely and hot. Top tip in any port is to follow the crew, and you'll find out where the free Wi-Fi is. So along the Esplanade, you've got this little pavilion where you can sit and just catch up with the world for free. Saves turning your phone on for a day, and it's that far away from the ship. There's not a lot to do in Scarborough if you're not going on tour, but you just want to get off the ship and say you've set foot in Tobago and walk along the Esplanade. Up on the hill there you've got Fort King George, which is up in the background, so you could also walk to there. But to be honest, if you don't want to do an organised tour, there's lots of taxis sitting outside the port, so there are tours available. You just pay them. You do pay per person, so it's not cheaper if there's 4 of you, so just be aware of that. I had a bit of a stroll, but I'm going to head back to the ship. There are a few bars here, but I feel like I don't need to sit out drinking in the afternoon, much as I do like the odd bottle of Carib. I love Tobago. I have to say, I definitely like Tobago a lot. I'll give them that. This is the High Street in Scarborough. Just behind me is the port entrance, so it's not hard to get around. You can see lots of taxis and minibuses right outside the port, so if you want to go on a private tour rather than an organised tour, it's dead easy to do. Thank you for having us, Tobago. Everyone wandering back along the pier back to the ship now. The day's pretty much done, although in fairness you've got till 6:30, it's probably about 4 o'clock, so there's still time. Also, got a cruise ship to enjoy, don't forget.
If you've seen my boarding day video, you might remember that I was invited to the Solos meetup at 6 PM in the Arts House. This, it turns out, is a lively bar which often has live music. There are at least 25 solos at a first meetup, far too many to get to know in one day, but a lot of these people were on for both weeks and I met some great cruise friends on this ship. 6 o'clock drinks was the highlight of my day. Marella have guest experience coordinators and they were fantastic and hosted the meetup, and they sorted out tables for us at dinner. So a group of us shared a table in latitudes. For starters, I went for chicken goujons. Mains was fish pie. And then for dessert, I had the cherry almond brownie. And after dinner, a bunch of us went on to the Movies of the Musical show in the Broadway Theatre. Being all-inclusive, you can bring your drinks with you or collect one on the way in. Then, to round off the night, it was up to the Electric Rooms nightclub for one of my favourites, the Silent Disco.